I should say a few words about Iran, which is the one I've visited most recently, and which is maybe the one that's nearest the front of our minds. The Iranian people were converted to Islam not very much longer after the conquest of the Arab world by Islam, but they refused to adopt the Arabic language, and it's a great point of pride to them that Persian culture and the Persian language and Persian literature survived the conversion to Islam, and the conversion to Islam also was, for most of them, not the Sunni majority form, but the Shia one. So there's a great discrepancy between Iranian society and many other of what we think of as Arab Muslim states and systems. And there are many, many, many discrepant views within the Shia theology about what's the proper role of religion in society or in the state. Should it rule now? Should it claim to govern people in the here and now? Or should it wait until the Messiah, the 12th Imam, comes back, and would it only be then appropriate for religious rule to bring about a world of universal justice and vindication? This is a very live argument in Iran and among Iranians, and has been for a very long time. But since the advent of the Ayatollah Khomeini, sometimes called the Iranian Revolution of 1979, I would say myself the Iranian counter-revolution, since the entire people of Iran and every layer of Iranian society took to the streets to overthrow the Shah, only to find that their revolution had been taken from them and hijacked by a clerical caste, who then used violence against all those who had helped them to overthrow the Shah and imposed a dictatorship of their own. I believe that's better described as a counter-revolution than a revolution. There was a revolution anyway. But ideologically, the version of totalitarianism I'm talking about here has a religious name. Unlike Iraqi Baathism or Kim Il-sungism, it has a directly mainstream religious name. It's called the Velayat-i-Faqih, the guardianship of the jurist or the cleric. Originally invented to say that orphans, children, mad people, lost people were to be looked after as wards of the state. Khomeini decided that this velayat should be extended to everybody. Everyone in Iran is now considered to be a child, with a paternal authority vested in the Guardian Council and the Supreme Leader. And they're supposed to be grateful that they can never for a moment not be afforded this wonderful protection. The father who will never go away. The father who will never quit caring for them. It's ironic, I think, that this should be the case in Iran, and I think that those who proposed the idea and kept it going for the last 2 decades failed to notice something exactly to do with paternity. The Iranian people lost, we think, at least 1 million, maybe 1.5 million young people in the terrifying war that they waged with Saddam Hussein. In order to make up the numbers, after this very depleting war, the Ayatollahs promised Iranian mothers very large subsidies if they would breed more children, which they did. If you had a large family, 4 or 5, you would get a great deal of state subsidy. The consequence is what I call a baby boomerang. There are now, we think, probably more than 50% of the Iranian population is under 25. And it's rather outgrowing the tutelage of parenthood. And so the mullahs have, by accident, by unintended consequence, brought about a generation that doesn't like them. In particular, among the females. So that the moment is coming, I think it may already in fact have come, when the Velayat-i-Faqih will no longer work. But in the meantime, the appearance of an open society, not an open society, but a relatively open one when compared with Saddam's Iraq or North Korea, but where all is allowed, but all is guided, and all is finally decided by a Guardian Council, has reached the point that Lenin described, excuse me, the point that Lenin used to describe as a revolutionary situation, viz. A situation where the old order cannot continue in the old way, is unable to do so, and where those whom it rules do not wish, have no further desire to be ruled in the old way. So, the crisis of totalitarianism with which I began is now where I'll stop.
Well, thank you very much, Keristofer Hichens. Good evening. My name is Stephen Saum, and I'm the managing editor of Santa Clara magazine, and I have the privilege of moderating your questions tonight, of which there are many, 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 and many of them having to do right with where you left off, Keristofer. Are you hopeful about what's happening in Iran right now?
Yes. I have a lot of contact with Iran through former students of mine, friends of mine, through the email system. There was a wonderful photograph this week of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards going house to house in Tehran and piling up satellite dishes which they'd smashed in the back of their trucks. Lots of luck to them. It's too late. In Iraq, under Saddam Hussein, it was death to possess a satellite dish, and people didn't. It was too risky. But for a while, it was death to possess a typewriter, because it meant you could type out something twice and pass it on. It worked, in fact. Iran is too big. Tehran is too big. It's swollen with immigrants who are fleeing the countryside. Large illegal population, huge subversive student population. I'm delighted to see they keep on trying to smash the satellite dishes. It won't work. I hardly know any Iranian who doesn't have, because of the exile, the diaspora, at least one relative overseas. Most people know how to make an international phone call, even when they try and block the cell phones. The stupider the regime, the more intelligent the people get, and the more humorous. We're going to live to see great things in Iran. And in the meantime, for me, the most wonderful thing is this. They've raised a generation of people who've completely seen through religion. They've got no more use for these verminous mullahs at all. It's a wonderful thing to see.